All right, hello everyone, and welcome to tonight's lecture. Tonight's lecture is Ojibwe lore and its origins, taught by the honored noble Walks Upon Scorched Earth. We're lucky to have them as a return instructor for today, so thank you once again for joining us. Tonight's lecture is part of the Huapahua Period America Lecture Series, which is our monthly lecture series to promote the study of North, South, and Central American cultures within the SCA period. So we've been lucky enough to host these lectures over the last 10 months, and we've created a fantastic library of information on our YouTube channel with topics from agriculture to weaving to scribal arts. And now we're adding some new lectures as well for 2026. So just a few housekeeping notes before we get started. So firstly, as you can see, this lecture is being recorded. So we ask that you either raise your hand and wait for the instructor to call on you or leave your comments in the chat. Usually there's some time at the end of the lecture for kind of free forum chat, but while we're recording the actual lecture, just keep to that so that we can keep the recording nice and clean for those who aren't able to join us tonight. Secondly, while you join this lecture, you agree to our zero tolerance policy for racism, xenophobia, colorism, other forms of discrimination, and generally the SCA's anti-bullying policies. If you have any concerns about an attendee, a lecture, or any content in a lecture series class, I hope that you'll feel safe in reaching out to me. I'll put my email address in the chat after we finish up here. And thirdly, we are looking for additional instructors specifically for February, April, and May. So if you can reach out to me if you're interested in teaching on any topic related to North, South, and Central American cultures within SEA period, I would really appreciate that so that we can keep the lecture series going and introduce people to some new topics in our subject here. So thank you again so much to Walks Upon Scorched Earth for your time today. I will turn it over to them for tonight's lecture.
Bonjour. Welcome. I appreciate all of you being here this evening. I will be sharing my screen here in a moment. So just a little backstory for me. I've been in the SCA since I was 18. So that is about 25 years. I started out in Ontario. I currently reside in the Kingdom of Callantyre. Um, Non-SEA related, my background, my grandfather was full-blooded Salagi, or known what is known as Cherokee in the English language. My grandmother was full-blooded Ojibwe, and then my mother was French Canadian and Mi'kmaq, which is a First Nations tribe. And I kind of wanted to do this as a way to honor my ancestry and my grandmother. So that and just to bring, these stories to a wider arena for those who may be interested in it. Right. Just to confirm, everyone can see my screen, correct? Okay. Give me 1 second here. Zoom is being difficult. Let's try that. How's that? Thank you very much for the confirmation. I appreciate that. It wanted to be very slow about getting over to the shared part. Um, So the history and kind of the purpose of Ojibwe lore, if you will, was morals and fables and ways to pass on the history of the Ojibwe people. Technically, that is not the name that the tribe goes by. They are known as the Anishininaabe people, which means the people in the Anishinaabe language. This was a way to teach young people, people who were adopted in the tribe, how to be part of the culture, part of the tribe, part of their clan, to be Anasabe, and how to best serve their community. One of our main spirits in Ojibwe lore is Nanabojo, or Nanabush spirit, or Mukchab Uvastak, the great hero who created the earth. He is kind of a folk hero and a trickster god. Um, one of four sons of a human mother in Ibanashmag, or in the West Father. The four directions, north, south, east, and west, fathered many children. It is how the Anasabi people came to be. He was a shapeshifter. He could show up as many creatures or an anthropomorphic human form. Mujabu, great rabbit or hare. He was the co-creator of the world for the Ojibwe culture. Come on, mouse. Um, he was seen as a trickster figure. His goal was to create problems and chaos. But in reality, what he was doing was revealing problems within the culture. He can be shown as greedy, manipulative, money driven, worldly desires. But when he developed a deeper relationship with others, he becomes more balanced. And then that's kind of where he becomes our folk hero. Um, he was sent to Earth by Gichi Mandu, which is known as the Great Father. Um, he was to teach the Ojibwe first task, name all the plants and the animals of the earth. He can be considered to be the founder of Midwinwin, or the Grand Medicine Society, or the Way of the Heart, known for inventing fishing and Ojibwe hieroglyphs. The written Ojibwe language actually is it looks like akin to cuneiform in its shapes. It's very triangular with dashes and dots. um, and other notable spirits in the Ojibwe culture is Gichimantu, or as I said, the Great Spirit. Anamniki, which is thunderbirds. They were considered supernatural and powerful beings that can create rain, wind, thunderstorms with their wings and eyes. Um, Mishipushu, a powerful underwater being, often depicted as a dragon-like creature. He was also could be a trickster god. The Wendigo, which is a fearsome giant cannibal who stalks the winter woods, believed to be punishment for greed and selfishness. Typically, the Wendigo, you were either born Wendigo or you weren't. And much of the American lore that is attached to werewolfism in the movies actually comes from Wendigo lore. Um, and then there's cosmic phenomena. The Ojibwe believe that the sun, moon, stars, thunder, lightning, and four winds were all imbued with spirits, and that they should be honored and that they were an essential part of Ojibwe lore and life. Then another notable spirit in Ojibwe culture is two-spirited individuals who are seen as having both male and female spirits, often honored for their spiritual strength and knowledge. They were seen as sacred beings within the Ojibwe culture. They could either be hold male, what are considered traditionally male or female roles within um, Ojibwe culture. One of our greatest chiefs recorded actually was a two-spirit. She would be what you would consider assigned female at birth, but she took many wives and magically had children. You figure that one out for yourself. um, but and then one of my favorite American folklore, which is a little post-period, but is uh Nana Boslo's encounter with Paul Bunyan. And this is actually a story that my grandmother used to tell me as a child. Along the path of Paul Bunyan's deforestation, Nanabuzo confronts Bunyan in Minnesota and implores him to leave the state without logging any more lumber. A fight goes on for 40 days and 40 nights. Nanbozo ends the fight by slapping Paul Bunyan across the face with a red lake walleye. Nanabuzo pulled at Paul Bunyan's whiskers and made him promise to never return to the area. Because if you look at later, like earlier Paul Bunyan stories, he has like a full beard, and then later on he's like clean shaven. And if he was like, no, he's always been clean shaven, I was like, if you look at some of the stories about Paul Bunyan, he did at one point have a traditional beard. I always like to say that that is why he no longer has the beard. It's because it got pulled out. Um, And then this is another one, and this is one I actually just kind of stumbled across in my reconnecting to that part of my ancestry, and it's how the bear lost his tail. One cold winter morning, when the fox was coming up the road with some fish, he met the bear. "Good morning, Mr. Fox," said the bear. "Good morning, Mr. Bear," said the fox. "The morning is better and brighter because I have met you." "Those are very good fish, Mr. Fox," said the bear. "I have not eaten such fish for many, many days. Where did you find them?" I have been fishing, Mr. Bear, answered the fox with a grin. If I could catch fish like those, I would love to go fishing. I would do it all the time, but I do not know how to fish, said the bear sadly. Why, Mr. Bear, it'd be so very easy for you to learn, said the fox. You are so big and strong and smart that you can do anything. Will you teach me, Mr. Fox? Asked the bear brightly. Well, the fox paused and then said in a whisper, Mr. Bear, I would not just teach anybody how to catch fish. It is my secret, you see. If everyone knew how to do it, then there would be no live fish left for me. The bear's smile faded away. Oh, please, Mr. Fox. Well, the fox continued with another grin. You are such a good friend that I will teach you. Only you must promise not to tell the others. Come to the pond and I will show you how to fish through the ice. So the fox and the bear went to the frozen pond. First, the fox showed the bear how to make a hole in the ice with his claw. That was easy for you, said the fox, but many an animal could not have made a hole as large and round as you, Mr. Bear. Now comes the real secret. You must put your tail down in the water and keep it there. That is not easy, and not every animal could do it, for the water is very, very cold. But you are a smart animal, Mr. Bear, and so I know you will be able to do it. Now you know the secret of catching fish is to keep your tail in the water for a long time. Then when you pull it up, you will pull it up with as many fish as I have. The bear put his tail down in the icy blue water, and the fox went away chuckling. The bear shivered and waited. All day the bear waited. The sun rose high in the sky, and still the bear sat with his tail through the hole in the ice. Sunset came, but still the bear sat with his tail through the hole in the ice. For he thought, when an animal is really as smart as me, he will not be afraid of a little cold. It began to get dark. At last, when he was sure they had waited long enough, the bear said, Now I will pull the fish out of the water. How good they will be. He pulled and pulled, but not a fish came out. Worse than that, not all of his tail came out. The end of the bear's long tail was frozen solid to the ice beneath the water. The bear howled in pain so loudly, the animals across the forest turned and looked at each other in surprise. What could that be? They asked. Bear slowly got up from his seat by the ice, rubbing his backside in pain. He went down the road towards his den, growling angry. I wish I could find that fox. But the cunning fox was curled up in his warm nest, his belly full of a delicious fish dinner. And whenever the fox thought of the bear, he laughed. And that is how the bear lost his tail. Um, so in that story, the fox is Nano Bojo, um, teaching the bear a lesson about being humble and having humility and realizing that maybe not everyone has the best intentions for you. um, But these were stories that were told throughout the year, but especially in the wintertime when it's cold, and there's less activity and you're trying to stay around the fire in your houses. These were told to the children to kind of teach them how to be productive citizens of the Ojibwe culture. Um, I've kind of reached my resources here. One of the stories I don't have included in this slide, and it's one that I like to tell around Bardic circles, is the story of how the Ojibwe got the dream catcher. So here we are, the Great Spirit and Spider Woman are chilling in the Great Plain in the sky, and she's watching humans below, and her heart goes out to them and goes, they're having nightmares and they're just struggling so much. I really feel like I need to go down there and help them. And the Great Spirit goes, they're kind of a lost cause. Like, why are you trying to help these humans? And she goes, I feel like they have so much potential and they just need a little guidance. And he goes, okay, well, I'll lower the bridge so you can go down to Earth and help them. And so she goes down the bridge like a spider does and gets there and she meets the great warrior. And the great warrior goes, Mother Spider, what brings you to this plane? And she goes, Well, I've seen the struggle you guys have had, and you're not sleeping well, and you're struggling, and you just seem very disconnected, and I'm here to help you." And the great warrior goes, "How can I help you then, Mother Spider, Spider Woman, do this?" And she goes, "I need you to gather three things for me." And he goes, "Certainly. What are those three things?" She goes, I need you to gather chokeberries that only grow on the east side of a mountain. I need you to get strips of bark from the oldest grove of birch trees that you get, that is close by. And I need you to bring me a sea turtle shell." And he goes, "That doesn't sound very hard, Spider Lady." And she goes, "It may be harder than you think." She's like, "You only have 7 days to do it." And he goes, "Is that 7 days from like when sun rises to sun sets?" She goes, "Yes, you only have 7 days to do it." And he goes, "Okay, well, I'm going to rest tonight and then I'll set off in the morning to start this journey." And Spider Woman goes, "Sounds like a plan. I will wait here for your return, great warrior." And he goes, "And great warrior rest." And he goes, "I think I'm going to go find these chokeberries that grow on the east side of the mountain because that's got to be the easiest one to do." So he goes up this mountain and he's climbing and he's climbing and he finally finds a bush full of chokeberries that grow on the east side of the mountain. He gathers them and he has this big basket and he's so proud of himself and he starts going down to the mountain again to start on the next step of the journey. And he gets to a point and he stops and the sun is high in the sky and he goes, "Man, I'm really, really hungry." He goes, "It wouldn't hurt. I have all these chokeberries. I can eat a little bit. She'll never know I ate some of these berries." So he eats a handful of the berries and then he sleeps for 2 days. And he wakes up. He looks around and he realizes time has passed. And he goes, "Well, I have less days now, so I should start on the next journey." So he goes and finds the oldest grove of birch trees, and they all come to life and they start to talk to him. And they go, "What are you doing here in our grove?" And he goes, "Spider Woman has sent me here to get a strip of bark from the oldest birch tree in this grove." And this large, gnarled, kind of semi burnt birch tree comes out, and he goes, "I am the oldest birch tree in this grove. What makes me think I should give you some of my bark? It protects me from the elements and it keeps me warm and it makes me look beautiful." And he goes, "Well, Spider Woman says she wants to help us live better with the earth and sleep better and be better citizens." Um, and he thinks about it. The tree thinks about it for a minute. He goes, "But what's in it for me?" Um, and the great warrior sits down and he says, "I have to think about this because I don't really have anything I think I can give that a tree would like." And so he sits there and he sits there for a few hours. And finally, this old gnarled birch tree comes in and goes, "Have you thought anything, warrior, or have you already failed at your mission?" And he goes, "No." He goes, I don't have anything physical I think I can give you, a tree that you would enjoy because you're a tree, because you are right. And I've seen a lot of things. I am an old tree after all." And the great warrior goes, "I'll make a promise that I will tell everybody I meet to not come to this grove and cut you down." He says, "And we'll make a marker outside the grove so that when anybody comes to it, they'll know that it's that special grove I talked about, I spoke to them about." And the tree goes, thinks about it, and he goes, "I have lived a long life and I really do enjoy being the oldest tree in this grove." He goes, "I think, yes, I think this will work." He says, "How will you mark that this is a special grove that should not be cut down?" And he goes, "Well, I saw some rocks outside and I will pile them high outside to mark that this is a special grove that should not be cut down." And the birch tree goes, "This is acceptable. Go stack the rocks and then I will get these strips of birch that you need." And he goes, "Okay, I'll be back." So the great warrior walks out to the outside of this grove and he starts stacking up these rocks. And some of them are really big and he struggles. And some of them are really little. And he's like, man, he's like, it worked out. And he put the big flat one, then he put another big flat one, and he stacked it up until it was almost taller than he was. And then he wipes his brow and he goes back into the grove and he goes, okay, I've stacked the rocks so that people will know this is a special grove that should not be touched. And the birch tree goes, here are the strips of birch bark that I promised you. And the great warrior goes, I hope someday that we meet again and that I get to sit under your shade. And the old ancient birch tree goes, I would like that. He says, I can tell you stories and tell you things that I have seen that are not recorded anywhere except in the rings of the wood of my trunk. And the great warrior says, well, I don't have time today because I am on a time, I'm on this journey for the Spider Woman, but I will definitely come back to you. And he takes the chokeberries and he takes these giant rolls of birch bark and he's carrying them and he goes, I have to find a turtle shell. He says, where should I go? He says, I don't know of any lakes around here. And he sits down and he thinks about it and he goes, well, if I find a creek or a small piece of water, maybe that will lead me to the lake. And so he finds a really thin stream and he starts to follow it. And then he gets to this large lake and it's almost so big that he can't see across it. And there's an island in the middle, and there are large turtles sunning themselves, just laying there on the island sunning themselves. And he goes, there's a turtle. I have to figure out how to get over there to get the turtle shell. And he sits down on the creek and he starts to puts his feet in the water and starts to kick them. And then two beavers pop up and they go, why do you disturb our pond? And the great warrior goes, brother beavers, I'm just sitting here thinking, trying to how I can get over to that island because I need to get a turtle shell for the Spider Woman. And the beavers go, we'll take you there. We'll take you there. He goes, what would you like in exchange? He says, I don't really have anything to give you. All I have is my birch bark and my chokeberries. Um, and the beavers go, will you help us gather wood? And he goes, well, what kind of wood? And there goes sticks, wood of any size that is around here that's loose, that's already in the ground. He says, they're like, we want to build a dam so we can go live in it. So he's like, you don't have a house? And they're like, no. Well, we just kind of swim around and try to avoid the turtles. He says, okay. He says, well, let me leave my basket here. Let me leave my strips of birch bark, and I will go find some sticks and things to help make your dam. And he goes and he walks for hours and hours and comes back with this huge pile of sticks of different sizes and felled young trees. And he sets all down and he goes, I brought you a pile that's almost bigger than I am. He goes, but because I'm the great warrior, I'm strong enough to carry it all myself. And they go, thank you, great warrior. They look at them and they go, these should do. These should do to make our house. And he says, I'm glad to hear it. And they go, but let us build our house first before we take you over to the turtles. They're like, the sun is is getting low in the sky and you don't want to be in the water when it's dark because there could be things out of the water that could pull you under. And he goes, Beavers, you are so smart. Thank you for thinking of that. I did not think of that. He goes, can I watch you build your home? He says, because I don't have a home and maybe the style of home you have will work for me. And they go, of course, great warrior. Please sit here and watch us build our home. So he sits down there and he watches them. So they take some mud and they take some sticks and they start to layer it into kind of a dome. And he goes, that is a really, he goes, that looks like a really sturdy home. And he remembers that for later when he wants to build a home for himself. And then he goes, well, I should sleep. And so he sleeps. He wakes up the next morning, and his baskets of chokeberries there and his birch bark are there. And the beavers come and they go, great warrior, are you ready to go over to the turtles? And he goes, yes. He goes, I am, I am. So he grabs one beaver with one arm and grabs the other beaver with the other arm, and he gets into the water and they pull him over to the island. Um, and they go, it'll go faster if you kick your feet. And he goes, okay. He says, kind of, he looks, he's like you flap your tails to move, and they go, yes, exactly like that. So he starts to kick his feet like a beaver to help them move closer to quickly, more quick to the island. They get to the island, and Great Warrior looks at the beavers and goes, can you wait here till I'm done with the turtles and take me back to the shore? And they go, we'll be around. Just whistle twice, and it will come when you call. And he goes, thank you, brother beavers. I do appreciate the ride. And the turtles start to come out of the water, and they're large. I mean, they are just massive turtles, and they're scarred, and they have sharp claws on their feet, and they have really sharp noses. And he goes, I don't know how I'm going to get a turtle shell. And he says, because they're in their turtle shells. And he gets close, not close enough for them to attack him or bite him. He goes, brother turtles, I have a request for of you. And they go, we don't know you. And he goes, I know, but I come on behest of the Spider Woman. She has sent me on a quest for certain things, and one of those things is a turtle shell. Is there any of you that is willing to give me your shell? Um, and they go, surely we can't give you our shell. That is our home. We would be naked and cold and exposed to the elements. And he goes, okay. He says, well, what if we had a contest? And if I beat you, I get your turtle shell. If you beat me, then I leave without the turtle shell and I leave you in peace. And the turtles being wise, and they think about it and they go, yes, this is a good thing. And they go, what kind of contest? And he goes, a running contest. Because he is the great warrior and he knows that he is incredibly fast and he is swift. And he's like, they're large and they're the way they walk, they can't move very fast. He says, surely I can beat them in a dash. And the turtles look at him and they go, surely. Okay, yes, we'll agree to your race. And he goes, okay. And so they mark a spot and they draw a line with their claw in the mud. And one of the other turtles stands off to the side and looks at them and goes, on the count, he says, when I say go, you guys take off. And so the great warrior stands there ready to dash, knowing he's confident that he can beat this turtle. The other turtle says go, and he takes off. And he's running, and he's just running, 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 running. And he looks over, and the turtle is right next to him. And he goes, this can't be. This is a turtle. It's large. It's heavy. It has to be slow. And he goes, I must just not be going fast enough. So he starts running harder and harder and harder. Um, and he looks over, and the turtle is still next to him. He goes, maybe, maybe I have misjudged the turtle, and they're faster than they look. And he goes, but no, I can't be beaten. I need this shell. And he goes, I gotta just run faster. So he just runs faster, faster, faster. And he looks over, and the turtle's just a little bit behind him. And he crosses the finish line, and he's standing there, and he goes, "Brother Turtle, I beat you." And Brother Turtle goes, "You are correct. You have beaten me." He goes, "A deal is a deal." And he starts to pull himself out of the turtle shell. And he goes, "Here's my turtle shell." And the great warrior says, "Thank you." He says, "You were a very hard opponent to beat." He says, "Every time I looked, you were right next to me." He goes, I wouldn't expect with your size and the way your legs are, that you would be that fast." And the turtle goes, "This is true. But that is everybody underestimates us turtles." He says, "We're even faster in the water." And he goes, "Well, thank you, Brother Turtle. I still appreciate this." And he goes to the edge of the lake, the edge of the island, and he whistles twice. And the beavers pop up and they go, "Yes, great warrior." And he goes, "I've got the turtle shell. I'm ready to go back to the shore." So they're like, "Okay." They're like, one of the beavers goes, "Well, you're gonna grab onto me, and then the other beaver will pull the turtle shell over to the shore for you." And great warrior goes, "That makes sense." So they pull the turtle shell. They pull the great warrior and he gets to the shore. And he pulls out the shell and he gathers his rolls of birch bark and his basket of chokeberries. And he goes, "I have everything." He says, "I should hurry up though." He says, "I know that I have not that many days left." And he starts to rush and rush and rush because he does not want to fail. And on right before the end of the seventh day, he gets back to the Spider Woman. And he goes, "Spider Woman, I brought you the chokeberries that only grow on the east side of the mountain. I brought you these rolls of um, birch bark, and I brought you a turtle shell." And she goes, "Okay, with these things and some of my web," she starts to make a frame and to weave and to add the turtle shell and some of the chokeberries. And then at the end of it, she hands it to him, and it's a round circle with webs in it. And, turtle shell is hanging from the bottom of it. And she goes, "This is called a dream catcher." And the gray warrior goes, "I've never heard of such a thing." And she goes, "It'll help you have better dreams, to be a better person, to keep the things from you that would trouble you." She goes, "This is the way that I want to help you." And he goes, "Okay, thank you." And he goes, "I have learned a lot." He says, "I have made friends with the birch tree. I made friends with the beaver. I beat a turtle in a foot race. Uh, I learned, how to build a house. I've seen all of these things. You have inadvertently taught me so many things along with these other people. I appreciate that." And the Spider Woman goes, "Well, take these lessons and make them part of the lessons for your people." And that, my friends, is how the Ojibwe got the dream catcher. So do we have any questions? I'm going to stop sharing the screen here. Give me a second. If it'll show me everything. Now, come on. Thank you, Magda. Yeah, definitely that for me was always, like I said, my grandmother told me that story, and it was always one that I enjoyed a lot.
Okay, if anybody doesn't have any questions, I will end at least the recording for now. So if any of you are more comfortable speaking off recording, we can certainly do that. I'll leave the chat up or the room up for a few more minutes, but I will close out the recording now. So if any of you have additional questions, feel free to stick around. Thanks so much.